You can't do that in a garage. There's just a few places in the world with the right equipment and only a few people in the world with the right training to be able to do that.
Fewer than 60 Bugatti Chiron Pur Sports exist, and one of them ended up wrecked in Miami, reduced to what many would consider an irredeemable shell. For most people, that would be the end of the story. When a machine at that level is declared a total loss, it doesn't just mean it's broken, it means the manufacturer has effectively decided its life is over. That's exactly what happened here. The car wasn't simply damaged, it was written off in a way that went beyond insurance paperwork. Its identity was locked, its VIN restricted, and its future erased with corporate finality. But instead of accepting that verdict, one builder stepped in with a very different mindset, one that doesn't recognize impossible as a conclusion. The deeper issue with a destroyed hypercar isn't just the cost or the engineering complexity, it's the philosophy surrounding ownership. In the world of ultra-rare vehicles, manufacturers don't just sell you a car, they maintain a level of control over it long after it leaves the factory. When this particular Chiron Pur Sport collided with a relatively ordinary vehicle, the damage triggered a chain reaction that went far beyond bent carbon fibre and broken mounts. The official inspection determined it was a total loss, but the manufacturer went further by restricting access to parts globally. That meant no authorised dealer could supply even the smallest component. The car became a ghost, something that existed physically but was barred from ever being whole again through official channels. Then came the staggering financial barrier. The only approved path forward was a return to the factory for a complete rebuild, with an estimate that climbed into 7 figures. Individual components carried absurd price tags, numbers that felt less like real costs and more like deterrents. It sent a clear message. If you can't afford to fix it their way, then it stays broken. For most owners, that would be the end of the conversation. But for someone determined to challenge that system, it became the starting point. What made this situation different was the refusal to accept the idea that the car was beyond repair. Upon inspection, the damage, while serious, wasn't beyond the reach of engineering skill and creativity. The structure had cracks, the mounting points were compromised, but the core of the car, the engine, was still intact. That realization changed everything. Then it suggested that the unrepairable label wasn't purely technical. It was a decision shaped by business practices and brand protection. As the process unfolded publicly, the stakes escalated. A bold statement was made online, challenging the manufacturer directly and threatening to bypass their entire system by reproducing parts independently. That wasn't just a rebellious comment. It struck at the heart of exclusivity. If complex components could be replicated outside the factory, the justification for their extreme pricing would begin to unravel. The situation evolved into something much bigger than one damaged car. It became a test case for the limits of control in the modern era of technology and information sharing. The project gained momentum as more people watched the rebuild take shape. What they saw contradicted the long-standing narrative that hypercars are untouchable by anyone outside the factory. Instead, they saw a machine made of components, fasteners, and systems that, while advanced, still obey the same mechanical principles as any other car. The mystique began to fade, replaced by a clearer understanding of how these vehicles are actually constructed. One of the most striking moments came when the car was physically separated into major sections to assess the damage. According to official guidance, this process required specialized equipment found in only a handful of facilities worldwide. Attempting it in a standard workshop was described as unrealistic. Yet, with improvised methods and careful planning, the separation was achieved successfully. That single act shattered the illusion that such work was reserved exclusively for factory environments. As the car came apart, the design revealed itself to be more modular than many expected. Major sections were connected in ways that allowed them to be disassembled with precision, not magic. The damage itself told a story of how force had travelled through the structure, affecting components far from the initial point of impact. Among the most critical issues was a fractured mounting structure, something the manufacturer treated as non-repairable. Their solution involved replacing entire assemblies rather than addressing individual failures, which explained the extreme cost estimate. Instead of following that path, alternative solutions were explored. Advanced manufacturing techniques, including scanning and machining, had opened the door to creating replacement parts that could match or even exceed the original specifications. This approach highlighted how modern tools are changing what's possible outside traditional factory systems. It also raised uncomfortable questions about how much of the exclusivity surrounding such cars is rooted in necessity versus control. The growing visibility of the project eventually drew attention from the highest levels of the company. Rather than responding with legal threats, the leadership chose a different approach. Communication was opened directly, shifting the tone from confrontation to dialogue. Though the concerns raised were valid, particularly around safety and the limitations of certain manufacturing methods, but so was the acknowledgement that the initial cost estimates represented worst-case scenarios rather than fixed realities. The decision to lift the restrictions on the car marked a turning point. It signalled a willingness to adapt, to recognise that a total loss doesn't have to be permanent if a safe and viable repair path exists. It also reflected an understanding of how public perception has changed. In an age where millions can follow a build in real time, maintaining rigid control at all costs can backfire. Transparency and engagement offer a more effective way forward. The broader impact of this situation extends well beyond a single vehicle. It has sparked conversations about ownership, repair rights, and the role of manufacturers in controlling the life cycle of their products. When a company can effectively disable a car through software or parts restrictions, it raises fundamental questions about what it means to truly own something. The ability to repair, modify and maintain a machine has always been part of car culture, and this case brought that issue into sharp focus at the highest level of the industry. It also highlighted the growing capabilities of independent builders. With access to advanced tools and information, individuals can now tackle projects that were once considered out of reach. That doesn't eliminate the need for factory expertise, especially when safety is involved, but it does shift the balance. It proves that knowledge and determination can challenge even the most established systems. At the same time, the response from the manufacturer demonstrated that adaptation is possible. By engaging rather than resisting, they were able to reshape the narrative and maintain their reputation while acknowledging the changing landscape. It showed that collaboration can be more powerful than control, especially when dealing with a new generation of enthusiasts who value authenticity and openness. In the end, the story is about more than a damaged hypercar. It's about the intersection of tradition and innovation, control and creativity. It shows how a single project can ripple outward, influencing perceptions, policies and possibilities. The car itself may have started as a symbol of exclusivity, but its journey has turned it into something else entirely, a symbol of persistence, ingenuity, and the evolving relationship between builders and brands.